manage the bears and realized that to protect them, we needed to make sure that they were wild, not tamer by feeding them.
Not surprisingly, Kate uses food to set traps for bears like Cody.
I would like to catch this bear just to give it a chance so that by the end of the summer it's not so habituated that we have to kill it.
Killing problem bears is always a last resort. But if the rangers are going to save Cody, they have to catch it first. Some weeks, Kate's on the bear beat almost every night. So are Rosalia and Cody. There's evidence of Rosalia's presence everywhere, but she's moving around like a thief in the night. And the rangers just can't seem to catch up with her. Kate has better luck locating Cody. Apparently, Cody's no longer interested in natural food, unless it comes in a picnic basket. In the morning, it's clear the Bear Bandits had another rewarding night.
He ate a dozen eggs. We had a package of hot dogs, and he tore it open and took every hot dog out and ate all the hot dogs. We had a whole thing of bacon, and all that was gone.
I left food out. That's what I did. It was really stupid. And so the bear just took its little fingernail, and we have a van with the window on the outside. And it all came crashing outward. And then they came back later for brownies. They liked it so much.
He grabbed the Tupperware and hid up the tree the next night.
Yeah.
Not all the bears got away scot-free. Cody took the bait. Now that he's sedated, Steve and Kate can take their first close look. It turns out he's not a yearling at all. She's a 4-year-old sow who's small for her age. They'll give her an ear tag and start a rap sheet. From now on, she's a marked bear. And that means she'll be exiled to another area of the park for her own good. Her new home is about 16 miles away from the temptations of Yosemite Valley. With any luck, she'll be satisfied with the new arrangement and stay away from the campgrounds. Coming up, bad news bears wreak havoc on a campground.
Well, I guess we'll do a small informal one here for you.
Yeah, well.
May as well. Sorry about that, Ed.
No problem.
We did the same thing this year we did last year. Last year we had 40 people. Today we have 1.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I believe there is another course that actually is tomorrow. Never mind, it's tomorrow.
Yeah,
Bear
it's nice
course
day
tomorrow.
out. So. But as we said last year, there was an actual attack just before this, and I think that created interest, right? So, it's like still, I figured we'd have it.
Oh, I never heard of it.
Can you join us? Excellent. Okay, well, we will get started, and I'll quickly introduce you here. This is Ed Perogowicz. She's from the Alberta Natural Resources, is that correct?
Stay low, don't call it Fish and Wildlife.
Okay, Fish and Wildlife. And,
you gentlemen okay with this?
Oh yeah,
sure.
I'm okay as long as Ed's okay with it.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you.
And again, he's done this for us quite a few years when it comes to the bear safety seminars. He does a great job for us. So Ed will talk a little bit. Once he is completed, then we will have a staff member to kind of talk about the product that we sell in store, just to kind of top it off. So thank you for coming. Appreciate it. And I'll pass it off to Ed.
Okay. Yeah, good afternoon. So basically we're going to talk about is bears, the 2 bears we have in the province, the black bear and the grizzly bear, and the different kind of attacks that occur. Generally there's 2 different types. If you're out in the bush, if you get attacked by a bear, one's called a predatory attack, one's just a surprise. The surprise one is you're walking through the bush and bear doesn't know you're there, and all of a sudden you walk face to face, the bear gets scared, and its defense is to attack and defend itself.
Yes.
The other one is where the bear sees you as food, sees you as an animal, sees you as prey, stalks you, and goes after you. Yes?
I don't really like bears.
That used to be, that's a real fur. Yeah. So what I'm going to start with is a little video. It's on the predatory bear, and then we'll talk about the different side.
In the spring of 1990, Tom Walter from Waterford, Michigan, was on a fly-in fishing trip into the Canadian wilderness east of Lake Superior. After a moose had been spotted down a secluded bay, Tom took his video camcorder to get some shots of it. He had his brother drop him off with instructions to come back with the boat in an hour.
And while I was back there and I was waiting for this moose to come, I heard a sound behind me. And I put down my camera, fully expecting it to be a moose or something, and when I turned around and here was this black bear. And at first I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm going to get a black bear on my videotape. And as soon as he sees me, he's going to run, but he didn't run. He came right at me.
Get away, bear! Go on! Go on, bear! Go on, bear! Get away, bear!
What's the bed?
It's following him.
Bear! Get out of here! Get out of here, bear! Get!
Over the past century in North America, research has revealed that 31 people have been chased, caught, and killed by black bears. And in many of these incidents, the bear then partly or even completely consumed them. Usually the most restrained of bears, very rarely a black bear will try to prey on human beings. Tom Walter encountered one of these.
What I basically did was I just used the camera as a defense mechanism of holding the camera out in front of me. And what he did is he kept coming closer and closer and closer. And what I would do every single time is just scream and yell, say, get out of here, bear. Go away, bear. And that seemed to stop him. Whenever I would scream real loud, he'd stop.
Get out of here!
All I had in my mind was trying to get back. And my brother was going to pick me up. And that's the only thing that kept me going was I just got to make my way back. And luckily, the screaming and yelling seemed to stop him. I think if I wouldn't have screamed and yelled or stood my ground, I don't think I'd be here right now.
The first scientist to explain and classify predatory black bear behavior, and the author of the book Bear Attacks, Their Causes and Avoidance, is University of Calgary professor Stephen Herrero.
In 1967, I began formally recording records of bear attacks on people, trying to better understand the behavior and the way in which these situations could be avoided. And by about 1980, I realized that in the black bear data, there was a pattern. And in that pattern were incidents where bears apparently saw people, maybe silently followed them for a little while, and then attacked. And it was a pattern that really wasn't associated with injury before, because black bears weren't regarded as a species that even rarely preyed on human beings. Well, it turns out they do very rarely attack people with the idea of killing them and eating them. Fortunately, it's a very rare type of behavior, and one which can be reasonably easily recognized, and oftentimes the people can turn the tables on this incident and make it come out without injury to the person, provided they can recognize it as it unfolds.
Get out of here, bear!
He just kept moving towards me, closer and closer. You know, I never saw his fur standing up. I never saw his teeth. I never heard him growl. He just kept constantly closing the ground on me.
Get out of here! Get out of here, bear!
I kept backing up. I was bumping into a lot of trees, blowdowns. Eventually, I had to go into the water, and I was in the water up past my waist, still with the camera on. He's walking along the side there, and he kind of looked at me sideways, and he had a look in his eyes like, "I'm gonna get you, you little guy." But most of the time, I never really had direct eye contact with him. But that one time when he looked at me sideways, and I kind of looked at him in the eye, that was probably the scariest moment.
This bear wasn't displaying any of the usual behavior that black bears do when they're feeling threatened and are just looking to increase their personal space. It wasn't making any noise, and it wasn't trying to intimidate Tom with aggressiveness.
May reduce. Anyways, Jasper Park wardens, they had some stuff that was past the expiry date. They took it out in the bush just to see how far it would spray, you know, what it does and all that sort of thing. And they sprayed down a bunch of bush out there just practicing around. A few hours later, one of their guys comes by the area. Here's a few bears in the bush licking the leaves, rolling in the stuff, having a great old time. So this stuff, it's in the face and the eyes. You'll really know the effect if you ever do that. If you do use it, wash your hands off, because if you have some on your hands and it get a bit thing and you rub your eyes even down here, you'll feel it on your face, even like a sunburn sort of thing. If you get in your eye, you'll really know it. But they talk about if you do practice with it, clean off the little tip there so you don't have any smell on it, that sort of thing. That is attractive to the bears. But
how close does the bear have to be before you shoot?
Probably within about 25-30 feet. Depending on the conditions, of course, the wind and all that, but generally it's fairly close. So me to the gentleman standing there, you know, you're getting into that range there before it's really effective. What they talk about, if the bear is out there, starts coming towards you, spray down in front of the bear, not right at the bear, spray kind of in front, because the bear's coming at you. You spray in front while he'll come into that cloud there. And when he starts off 50 feet away coming, give it a bit of spray. Now, a can this size here will only have about 8 seconds of spray. So what they say is just spray for like a second, half a second, maybe 2 seconds, depending on how close it is. So don't just spray the whole can and you're out. Just give it a psst, psst, you know. And most of the time, like I said, 92% of the time, it does turn the bear away. They find that, you know, roughly 10% of the time, it doesn't affect the bear. If the bear is really hypered up, on the old adrenaline sort of thing, it does take longer. Sometimes it may not work on them. Like I said, a rifle is only about less than 70% effective on bears. So probably about 20% of the time, you have to, they found that the bear has been sprayed twice or more than once, sort of thing. So it may stop, back off a bit, start coming again, the person sprays them again. But it's like I said, very hot. Actually, this here is classified as a prohibited weapon if you use it on a person. That's more restricted than a handgun. Handgun's a restricted weapon. This is a category above that if you use it on people. So it's designed for use on animals, and you can only use it on animals. But it does work. We also recommend it around the city for coyotes. People walking their coyotes out in the park, sometimes, especially springtime. They'll have coyotes circling, snarling, growling, trying to get at their little dogs sometimes. I've used this a couple of times on coyotes in the city. And again, sometimes, you know, it depends on how hyped up the coyote is. It takes a few seconds for this thing to take effect. Well, one probably took about 20 seconds before you really notice much effect on the coyote. Cougar, same thing. They even use it on moose. In the springtime especially, you get the cow moose or their calf. She's really aggressive. Pretty well on anything. It's hot and it works pretty darn good. And they really do recommend the pepper spray. And they do come in different strengths. Some of these ones, like this one, is 0.857, about 0.85%. Some of them are 0.75%. We usually recommend the stronger the better. If you're going to use it on coyotes or stuff like that, then a bit weaker one is fine, but especially with bears, the stronger the better is usually the thing. They do come in some bigger cans. if you're in an area where you're dealing with a lot of animals and that may be a better idea. Most of them come in about this size here, about I believe it's about 225 grams. So that's general. Some of them have nice different trigger holds, different things. So like I said, if you're going to have it, take it out, just give it a quick spray, about a second or two, out in the bush past the campgrounds, away from there, or wherever it's, it's not going to contaminate some of their area or people. So out there, how far it does spray, how wide the spray does go, and just those little things. And then if you're standing around, even the wind's blowing away from you. I've been around buildings where I've sprayed, the wind's blowing away, and that little swirling effect, you can feel that little tickle in your throat and all that. So it's very, very powerful. Any questions on, yes?
Do bears go in your garden?
Bears like gardens sometimes, yep. Sometimes bears like all sorts of food. I was just going to touch on bears and all their different likes. Yes?
I ride a horse alone in Prentice.
Mm-hmm.
And although there are bears there and I've heard them, I've never seen one, but I have seen a cougar twice. And the cougar one time was crouched low and its tail was swishing, but it walked about where you are, across in front of me, parallel. So was I prey then, or was he just not interested, just mad that I was there?
If he's really going after you as prey, unfortunately, if you're by yourself, right? You probably wouldn't know it. The problem with cougars is a lot of times, like you said, they'll be down on the ground. A lot of pictures you see them up on a cliff, jumping down on something. That doesn't happen too often. That's usually where they are, is under a tree, especially you get those spruce trees with the nice branches down to the ground. Yeah. That's where they like to hide. And their mode of attack is all of a sudden something will come by and they shoot out of there real quick and attack. Unfortunately, for people to say, well, how can I defend myself? Well, the only real defense, if you run into one of those, is being in a group. That seems to dissuade the cougar and that, but they usually attack from behind.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even know what hits you, sort of thing. No. So it's more like being vigilant. If you see it there, the same sort of thing. Back away, if you got some pepper spray, get that out, but just be aware of the thing. If you don't see it and it comes, usually the people that have been attacked the last number of times, sometimes they've been kids because of course they're smaller, and most of the other ones have been women, again smaller body size, and most of the ones that have been adults attacked have been doing an activity, jogging through the bush, cross-country skiing, so you got that running effect. And running or quick moving like that, basically to most animals is a chase me signal. Yeah. The old body language says, come on. And even in the city here, we have people who are walking their dogs, and all of a sudden a coyote come out, and they turn around, run with their dog sort of thing, and they say, this coyote chased me, and I just barely made it home. Well, coyotes can run quite a ways at about 50 kilometers an hour for short distances up to about over 60 kilometers an hour. So if they wanted to really get you or your dog, they probably could do that. But of course, it's just like something's running and they chase after it, sort of thing. So with any of these ones, of course, we talk about back away slow, watch the animal, don't turn your back on it, and that. On a horse, you have an advantage or you have a disadvantage. Sometimes the horse gets spooked, and if it gets spooked, it might buck you off and you might get injuries from that.
She was trying to and then run. And I was trying to hold her back from running because like you say, it'd be game on.
Yeah, if they get spooked, they can be, you might have injuries from that sort of thing. Generally, a full-size horse, no, the cougars won't bother with that, and you being on there, you make it look even bigger. So that's probably, she might have been kind of, whoa, kind of get out of the way herself sort of thing. Sometimes you get startled, sometimes you get in places where they're not too comfortable either. But usually with a cougar, they're more the deer-sized prey. So that's about an average-sized cougar there. They will get a lot bigger than this too. Yeah, especially the males. This is probably a general female size. Males can get probably the body about out to here, and again the tail out a bit further than that. This one here, about 6 feet. A lot of them will be with the tail and that out to 8 feet. So theirs is the retracting claws. So they nice and quiet. You don't see the claw marks. If you're looking at tracks, you won't see the claw marks in there. And interesting with them too is they're made to be a meat eater. That's the skull out of a cougar there. Now the cougar, I'll touch on the bear here just a sec, just to compare it. Unfortunately, I don't have their bottom jaw. Cougar, or the bear, has teeth actually quite similar to ours. Flat teeth in the back. We don't have quite the size of canines on there, but we got little canines there. Sharper teeth in the front. They're made to eat all sorts of food. Basically called omnivores, just like we are. They'll eat plants. In the springtime, a lot of the thing is dandelions, twigs. Of course, they eat meat and all that. And we're generally the same. We don't eat too many dandelions or twigs, but we're into vegetables and all the rest. And I've seen camps, tent where hole ripped in the side, and about the only thing they found in the tent was an onion. So they do have teeth similar to ours. And of course at the back they're just like ours. The teeth go on top of each other, good for grinding. The cougar, its teeth kind of go inside each other, even at the back there. So they're more like scissors, kind of cutting, which is great for cutting meat, chewing on meat and that sort of thing. So they're pretty well a meat eater. Their prey size usually is about the size of a deer, bighorn sheep, so something more of that size. A colt. Rarely will they go after anything that's, like a full-size moose or a full-size horse or anything like that. It's just usually too big on their prey size. But they are more the deer-sized hunters. So a lot of these ones where they talk about chasing mice, chasing rabbits, they may, if it's right there and it's handy. But for a cougar, the animal that size, to try and chase after mice, they're using up a lot more energy than they're getting back from what they're eating. Same thing with a lot of times with rabbits. If they have to chase a rabbit for a while, they're going to burn up a lot of energy. So they like deer and those sort of things.
Predatory style. Like any good hunter, it was simply trying to get Tom as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Was drowned.
No! Get out of here!
When it seemed that the bear had left, Tom turned off his camera. When he got out of the water, the bear returned, and the encounter continued for almost an hour. The bear chased Tom into the water once more before it finally left, and Tom made it back to the pickup spot.
Finally, I saw my brother come around the side of the cove, and he was kind of trolling while he's fishing, so he couldn't hear anything. And I was waving my arms and screaming and yelling for him to come and get me, and he finally realized something was wrong, and he motored over there real quick, and I literally jumped into that boat to get out of there. And they would have never believed me, but I do have it on tape, so I guess they do believe me now.
In the Tom Walter incident, the bear's behavior was classic. At some point it saw Tom, it decided, I think, to sort of find out what Tom was all about. And it approached him, and I think it decided it was gonna go after Tom as possibly something to eat. And it just kept pushing, pushing after Tom. And I remember particularly when he fell down or sort of backed away a little more, the bear was really right on top of him. And what Tom did that was so right was to stand up to that bear. And by standing up to it, it kept the bear just that few meters away. That was the difference between life and death for Tom.
Okay, that's the predatory bear. Now, of course, like you said, it's rare. We do have other, incidents of people saying that, they had the bear follow them for a ways. They had to make noise to scare it away and that sort of thing. Sometimes they're curious, but usually if they start following you, then it's more of a predatory thing. So that's where you have to be really careful. And then there's the other type of attack is where you surprise the bear. You're walking down the trail, it comes out, like I mentioned, it doesn't know you're there, all of a sudden it attacks because it got scared. It may have some cubs, it's defending, that sort of thing. Or it may have a kill or a food source in the bush there. We've had some people injured or killed because they were walking through the bush and they see this big hump of moss or something, or big hump of leaves or something. So they go over to wander over there and see what it is. Now, grizzly bear, when it kills its animal, usually it kills it, doesn't eat too much off the start, buries it over with this stuff, and is laying close by protecting its food source. So it'll let it kind of ripen. Gets that better flavor, softens it up too. But it's there somewhere protecting that food source. If you wander in to see what it is, we've had people attacked at that time. If it's a surprise attack, what we talk about is you don't fight. If a bear gets at you, play dead. That's when you play dead. Drop to the ground, good position is flat on your stomach, face down, because a lot of animals like to bite at faces. And that's what they do when they're competing with each other. They'll bite at each other's face. Get down, face down on the ground, hands behind your neck. This is a very vulnerable part, back of your neck. They know that. That's where predators like to attack. You got a backpack, put it over there, or get your hands over back of your head, back of your neck, and just lay there, play dead. It may bite on you a bit. You may kind of try to roll you over. If it does roll you over, roll over back on your stomach. If you can't get on your stomach, the fetal position on your side, fetal position curled up, hands behind the neck also works fairly good. The best ones get down flat and play dead. Like I said, sometimes they'll bite, sometimes they'll take a couple of bites, and if it's just a defensive thing or surprise, then they'll usually end it there. But like I said, if it's a predatory attack, you play dead, you're easier food. That's where you get the cartoon about the bears saying, gee, I like it when they play dead. You know, a bunch of bones there. Predatory attack, black bears will attack. We've had more attacks by black bears than grizzly bears. But if a grizzly bear does attack, it's a bigger bear, it's a more aggressive bear, and you're in a lot of trouble there. So with the predatory attacks, if you notice the bear, it's not leaving, you yelled at it or something, it's not leaving you alone, it's still following like this one in the thing, then it's probably a predatory thing. And that's where you have to fight. Now, some things we talk about climbing trees and that sort of thing, get away from the bear. With a predatory attack, if you're going to climb a tree, if you surprise a bear climb a tree, sometimes that's good. You're out of its space, it'll leave you alone. But if you climb a tree, you've got to have something else that you have to defend yourself if it's a predatory attack. Unfortunately, we had a lady a few years back at Canmore climb a tree, grizzly bear. Most people don't think grizzly bears climb trees. They climb them fairly well. When they get old and big and heavy and get the big claws, it's too uncomfortable to climb a tree, so a lot of times they won't, but they can, especially if they're younger. This bear climbed the tree after her, got her out of the tree, and killed her. So if you're up the tree, if you don't have anything else, breaking off a branch as it comes, sticking it down its face and all that sort of thing, in its mouth, whatever, into its eyes. It's you or the bear sort of thing. We had one of our park rangers out at Kananaskis country a few years back with a black bear come after him. So he had he climbed the tree, got away from the bear, but the bear come up after the tree after him. He managed to back the bear off a bit, came up close, he stomped on its nose and tried to bite its one foot there, and that backed it off a bit, but then the bear stayed there. So there's another tree close by, so this guy jumped from one tree to the next tree. So the bear went down that tree, up the next tree, and that went back and forth a few times before the bear got tired and left. So those are the predatory ones. Those are the ones you really want to watch out for, but again, watching you. And always a good thing is the pepper spray. If you're out there, pepper spray is a great thing, especially if you have these little, what they call holders on the belt. It's really handy and it works quite effectively. Another one works 100% out there on bears. Pepper spray, when they did all the studies on them on the past bears that have been sprayed and all that, how well it worked, they find it's about 92% effective on the ones they studied. Firearms, when they checked on that, firearms are about 67% effective. So these things are more effective than firearms. So, and they're handy. Especially with this pouch, you've got it right there. Now, the thing is, if you get some bear spray, the thing in here is called capsicum. Now, capsicum is basically like the hot stuff you get in hot peppers and all that. And if you get those typical little banana peppers and all that, they rate this heat in what they call Scoville heat units. But anyways, the little banana peppers are about 3,000 units, heat units. You get those real hot bell peppers, those sort of things that really burn your mouth out. Those are rated about 300,000 heat units. These things here are rated somewhere between 1 million to 2 million heat units. Wow. They really do burn. They don't cause any damage from the pepper. but they really give a real burning effect. But you have to get the animal in the eyes, the mouth area, that sort of thing. Really takes your breath away. The only thing too is, if it's wind's blowing towards you, you spray this, you'll get the effect pretty quick. I was emptying one of these cans, it had a tiny bit left in there, emptying one of these cans this morning. Light breeze blowing, I sprayed it the wrong way sort of thing. Within a second, it's hard to breathe, you're coughing and all that, and that's just from a little tiny spray, and nothing right direct at you. So it works very well, but you have to kind of know how to use it a bit. Now this one here, they used to come with a bit of a zip strap on them sort of thing. Most of these ones I see don't have that anymore, but they do come in a plastic wrap, and some of them have this little chain on here, which is a nice little thing because this little back thing you have to peel off. Now the problem is, I was talking to one of the other gals that worked with us, and she does a bit of backcountry stuff, and she does a bit of talks in the backcountry, and she has run into a number of times where people are back in the woods and they backpacked in there sort of thing, and they'll talk about bear safety, bear spray, and some of the people say, oh yeah, I have bear spray, and she said, oh, where is it? And they go to their backpack and dig around, pull out their bear spray, and like I said, these ones don't have these little zip thing, but a lot of times they'll be just like that, or the older ones that have the zip on there, they'll still have their little Ziploc tie on there. So if you needed it for a bear, first thing you got to do is find a knife, cut that thing off, cut off the packaging. So if you go to have it, make sure it's handy. Make sure, some of them do come with this little kind of we call it a holster or holder, belt holder. If not, they're available also. They keep it right handy right on your hip. And so that if you do need it, it's right there. Like I said, some of these ones have this little chain thing on them, which is nice, because what you have to do first of all is peel this safety thing off. That keeps you from pressing down this trigger accidentally. So like I said, if I went in right now, within a few seconds, everybody here would be coughing and wheezing and sneezing. So you have to take it out, you have to practice with it a bit, generally in a safe space. If you're out, by a campground or something like that, don't spray it in a campground, because bears like the scent of this and they like the taste of it.
Really?
It's just like you and I might like hot peppers, sort of thing. But if you got a little bit of pepper in your eye, you know how much even a little pepper might burn, or in your nose, how that discomfort that is. But you may eat that stuff, and turned out a few years back, this stuff has an expiry date on it, because sometimes the pressure, the propellant in here.
Have it clipped to a pocket or strap where it's going to fire away from it, should it even go off. Yeah. The safety notch on them that both launchers have there keeps the firing pin off of the primer of the bear banger, so that, like this, there shouldn't be enough spring tension that even should it get pushed over for it to set it off. It has to be fired from it all the way back down the travel of the string. And in that safety notch, the firing pin is kept off the primer, so they're very safe to carry at that point. So we carry.
Is it illegal to fire those off in the city?
Yes. Yeah, in the city, any kind of explosive device, like I said, they're classed as a firework. If it was used in a scaring an animal off situation, I'm sure there'd be some leeway there. But shooting it off on July 1st, probably not a good idea. The other type of launcher is the whistle that you mentioned. This airport uses it for scaring birds off and stuff like that. And these are both what we consider a passive defense, along with whistles, bear bells, air horns, and stuff like that. So something to scare the bear out of the area before an attack. Whereas the bear spray is an active defense. It's something you're preventing an attack. You're getting an aggressive bear to leave you alone. And they're all very effective at that. They do. In addition to the spare sprays, we carry holsters for all of them, 2 different types. There's a neoprene belt holster, which allows you to slip the canister down inside it. And there's enough springiness to the fabric that there's really no chance of it coming out of there, even if it's shaking around. But you can still grab it and pull it out very quickly. The other type of holster is the nylon flap Velcro one. Again, belt holster. This just is a little bit more positive. People are worried that it might slip out on the pack. This you can also mount to the frame of a bicycle. So if you're cycling through the woods, you can come around a corner pretty quick on a mountain bike. So it's often a very good idea to have the bear spray for stuff like that. And we do carry holsters and stuff, and a carrying pouch for the bear bangers as well. We do carry air horns, but unfortunately they're sold out right now, but we do get them in fairly regularly. And of course whistles is the sort of the last one, whistles and the bear bells, but that's all just sort of down the accessory aisles.
What did you say you don't have in?
We don't have air horns right now.
Oh, air horns.
We have sold out of that. We do have this guy here, the 0.75% concentration product with the pistol grip. We do have it on sale today for the seminar. It comes with one of the neoprene belt holsters, and they regularly go for $36.98. We've got them on sale for $29.98, which is the price of this guy here, which is our sort of entry-level bear spray, basic stuff. But just for today only, we've got this guy on sale for the same price as the basic one. And these guys don't come with holsters, just the two pistol grip style ones do. I think that covers everything. Any questions about our particular products, or any more questions for
how much are the bear bangers and whistles?
The bear bangers are 6 to a box for $19. The two different styles of launcher, the more basic one is $16. The one with the 2 firing pins is $18. So not a huge increase for this guy. My biggest problem with this one is that it's black, whereas these guys come in nice bright colors.
Oh.
So it is, I advise people maybe to put a piece of bright tape around it, just in case you did drop it on the ground. It makes it a little bit easier to find. But otherwise, they perform exactly the same with our flares. However, if you do wind up buying some centerfire ones, keep in mind that that'll only work with the centerfire launcher or the dual-purpose launcher, which we have. The last thing that I'd briefly touch on, not necessarily bear defense, but important. We do carry a lock sack and op sack barrier bags. Basically, this is just a heavy-duty Ziploc bag. Put your food inside it, food inside the bear cache. It's just a way around sort of knocking down, especially the stronger food smells and stuff like that, meat and things that are going to attract the bear. It's just another line of defense to keep the bear away, out of the area, away from the campsite. And then we carry a full range of nylon stuffed bags, a couple more secure bear vaults, and lots of paracord and stuff for doing a bear cache up in the trees. Alrighty, I think that covers it. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on, or?
No, that's about it. I enforce our, do recommend the bear spray, and then I got, like I said, this thing comes in. I don't know what I do with mine, but it does, because you weren't here in the early part there, but we do have people who do cover on there. Do have them in their backpack, that sort of thing.
I've got one. I just throw it in with the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, so the bear does come along. Like I mentioned earlier, we have one gal in the back. It's just kind of sticking because it has a bit of plastic on there. But she does talks in the backcountry. People hike in there, and yeah, they have their bear spray. And it turns out, when they pull it out, some of the old ones used to have a zip strap around here to keep the thing on when they sell it. Now they just come with a nice plastic wrap. But when they pull them out of their backpack, they'd be nicely tucked away in their backpack where they've been around for a while, put it out, they'd have the zip strap still on there and all that. Yeah. So make sure you take this off. This is going to stay on there. Get yourself we call it a holster or a carrier. Get that so it's right there, so if you do encounter a bear, you just have it right handy.
Did you touch on what's more effective with the spray?
Inside the city here, Springbank, we had one road killed here not that long ago. And other indications there's other cougars living around there. They're very secretive, like to stay away from people most of the time, but they occasionally they will, if you're handy and looks like something's running there, they may attack sometimes too. We haven't had too many problems with them in Alberta. We had one lady, Banff National Park, going back about 3 years ago now, wintertime cross-country skiing by herself. She got attacked and killed by a cougar. Like I said, generally, the best thing to talk about there is groups. When you're out in the bush, be in a group. That's why we recommend all the time, even with bears, especially with bears too. They found that if you have in a group of especially 3 or more, the chances of encountering or having a bear approach you or that is a lot less. Usually 1 or 2 people, you're walking through the bush, you're pretty quiet. And that's where these surprise attacks happen. Like I'm going to talk about the defense attack, or the predatory attack. The defense attack is, I'm walking through the bush, and all of a sudden the bear comes out in the trail, we're face to face, it gets scared, it attacks to defend. Another one is with cubs. Gentleman gosh, going back probably over about 12 years ago now. I talked to him in the hospital. He was about 63 years old. He was walking down a trail by himself, out about 25, it's pretty thick bush along the side, out about 25 yards in front of him pops a grizzly with 2 cubs. One thing the bear, he said, was starting to turn away, and the one thing he did that was kind of wrong at that point was yell. Now we talk about making noise, but it's just like you or me. If you're this close to me and I yell, you get frightened, a lot of times you're going to be defensive. If you're quite a ways away and I yell, you hear, you turn around, and you notice. So that's when we talk about yelling, making noise. You see the bear away, you yell, and that. Other one is, again, the predatory. You want to yell in a deep voice so that sounds authoritative. You're the alpha. You're the you're the pack leader, or whatever you want to call them. But you're in charge, sort of thing. If it's close and you yell, then it startles the animal, and a lot of times that may incite an attack. So that's what this person, the bear came out, wasn't that far away, he yelled, the bear was turning away, it turned around and attacked him. He basically had nothing on him. He said he had one of those little conchs, or the little, looks like half a mushroom growing on a tree. Had one of those through the bear. Of course, that didn't slow it down a bit. But it got to him, took a swipe, pretty well took out his eye, nose, part of his cheek there. At that point, he dropped down, played dead, and the bear took a couple of just bites on him. He just kept playing dead. The bear then left. And that's quite typical of other ones I've talked to. I talked to a couple other people in the hospital who've been attacked by bears. And a lot of times if they're in that charge right there, if you play dead, they may bite a couple of times, but then take off. Now if they bite and you start kicking and fighting and all that, of course that just incites them. And that's where they get more bites, and you can tell by some of the people some of our other guys have found the bodies. They can tell by the marks on their boots or something like that. They've been trying to kick up the bear while they're down or something like that. A lot of bite marks, and they end up being dead. So if it's a surprise attack, playing dead, especially when the bear comes and there's contact, at that point, play dead. If it's coming, a lot of times get your bear spray out. A lot of times they bluff charge. They'll come and they'll stop right here, sort of thing, and then back off. So they talk about, the first thing is to stand your ground, If it's started to come, at that point, maybe you want to yell at that point, stand your ground. A lot of times they'll just bluff charge. If they do make any kind of contact, you're down. You're playing dead at that point there. And then keep playing dead, unless the bear, of course, starts to pull meat off. At that point, the bear might have decided, well, I got it down, why waste this thing? And it turns from a surprise attack to a predatory attack. Very few of those are even rarer than just a plain predatory attack, but there have been a couple of incidents of that sort of thing happening. So the bear just doesn't bite a couple of times and then leave, it keeps on chomping. That's a predatory attack now. It's turned to a predatory attack, and then you have to be aggressive towards the bear and take whatever you can, fight the bear whatever you can, because it's going to just keep on chewing. So I hope I answered a bit of your question there too on the cougar. So the cougar, you probably won't have much of a problem because you're looking so big up there. And the same thing, if you see it, best thing is back off, but yell at it, be aggressive, and those sort of things.
I'd like to ask a couple of questions. What about the bear bangers?
Okay, so the other things you have, if you're out in the bush, are noisemakers. Like I said, the old pepper spray is real great, but sometimes if you're out there, again, talking about the group, in a group you're generally making more noise. So that avoids a lot of these surprise attacks because the bear knows you're out there. That's when those things happen. Bear bells, a lot of people talk, well, are they any good or not? They don't make too much noise, but how much noise do you want to be when you want to enjoy the woods, sort of thing. But that'll just kind of make a little noise as you're walking through the bush. Some people have a can with a couple of rocks in there, that sort of thing on their pack, and that'll just make a little noise so that bear knows you're there. If it's windy or you're by a river or something like that, that may cover the sound of that. You may have to make a bit more noise, especially if you see some bear tracks around, fresh scraping, scratches. Bear comes up to a tree, a lot of times it's going to set its territory scratch on the tree. If they look fresh especially, then it's time to make maybe a bit more noise. The other things they talk about for noise are like air horns. Just the blasting of an air horn. If you see the sign, a lot of times it looks fresh. There may be a bear somewhere in the area. You don't have to wait till you see a bear to make noise. You blow the horn or that. Bear bangers come in little things like this. You have a little kind of a spring tube. I haven't played with these too much, but there it is. It'll come down, and basically you put a thing on there. Some will whistle, some will bang. Some you'll even have as flares for emergency things. But basically it comes back, and you have it set back there. When you flick it off there, that's going to hit just like a firing pin and set that thing off. Now with a bear banger or any things that whistle, they're basically like a firecracker. So what you don't want to do is you see the bear there, shoot it off towards them because it might go on the other side of it first of all, go off, scare them towards you. Or if it does hit the ground and the ground's dry, don't worry about that now. But if it's the ground's dry especially, or even in a bush that's dry, poof, you got a fire. And the fire of course scares away the bear. But you don't want to cause a fire or something like that. So usually with these things, get up away from your face, straight up in the air. Thing's going to go up and make a boom. And that generally kind of makes a noise around the area. If you see the bear there, now it's the time to either yell at it, back off, depending on what your distance is. These things, they may work too if you, but again, straight up in the air, but not at the bear. Because it may go over the bear and you don't want it too low to the ground so you start a fire.
So when did you say to use that if the bear is nearby?
Oh yeah, even if it's not nearby, if it's nearby you can yell at it and that sort of thing. But if you see some sign, you see some digging, you see some or logs ripped apart, it's going for ants or something like that. If you even seen the animal somewhere in the area, put that up in the air and that boom will just alert it that there's something around. So now it's watching more, less chance of it getting surprised by you. So that's the idea behind a lot of the bear bangers. Even with the horn, you see the sign, you don't see the bear, a few toots on the horn, it'll make a noise in the area, the bear will know something's around there. These bear bells, I get some people talking about, well gee, there's incidents where that's attracted bears.
Really?
The old dinner bell, as it goes. That's what they get concerned about. Well, no, it actually is working because sometimes, especially with young bears, they're curious. Now they hear something like that, they don't know what it is, they'll come in to see what it is. But the idea of these bells is not to scare the bear away, it's just to let the bear know something's there. If it comes in to see what the heck that was, it's done its job because now the bear knows something's there, and I've never heard of a report of somebody wearing bear bells and the bear actually coming in and attacking the person. They may come in to see what's happening there, and they're curious, and then that'll bring the bear in, but the bear sees the person, it knows it's there, and then we've never had one where it's continued on to attack or anything like that. So they work pretty good for the job, but like I said, sometimes people get concerned because the bear will come to see what the heck that kind of noise is. I've heard other people again talk about, well, gee, they're not that loud, they're not that good. Well, this is just to be that little bit of a noise while you're walking through the bush. You're not like with a 12-piece band with you, you want to be there to enjoy a bit of nature or that sort of thing.
And a horse doesn't mind that, whereas with the bangers,
it may
be
make
on the
it.
ground.
Yeah, definitely. Again, whistles, those sort of things too, blowing on a whistle, anything that'll make some noise that the bear knows something's around. But again, stress, if the bear is close, you just want to be quiet. If it's like this gentleman standing here, it comes out there, you just want to talk quietly to it. Deep voice, again, avoid high-pitched voice, especially ladies. A high-pitched voice is, if you ever hear an injured rabbit or something like that, it just cries like a baby. Has a high-pitched voice. A lot of times a deer squeal, it's a high pitch. A lot of times, so it's an injured backpack. Taking off the backpack. The only problem with backpack, if you got food in there, the bears are smart. They learn, well, let's see, I approach this person, he throws this backpack, it's got food. So if I approach people, I get food. And we actually had one out by Nordegg, probably going 20 years ago now. But the people be hiking along and they feel something on their back. There's a bear holding on to their pack.
Oh, gee.
What they do, of course, drop the pack and go. Bear's happy, grabs the pack, and he's got the food. So he learned that little trick. So they say avoid. If it's attack, it'll stop. Yeah, throw it food, throw it whatever. But generally, if you just see the bear, don't throw down food or don't, leave a pack with food. Best thing to do is back away, and usually the bear will go. And most of the time, bears, you see the bear, I've seen, a number of bears out in the woods, they run away sort of thing. So a lot of times that's what they're going to do. But you never know which one has been habituated more. And if you get into national parks, they're just like our city coyotes. They don't mind people as much. They'll come, you get closer to them and all that sort of thing. And again, Jasper Park guys were at one of our annual meetings a number of years back, and they're talking about things they run into. And one thing they ran into was a couple of them are going up the Banff Jasper Highway, and here's a bunch of vehicles stopped. And usually when there's a bunch of vehicles, that means there's something big there that take pictures of. And sure enough, it was a bear. In this case, one lady had her 5-year-old child sitting there with, she put honey on his head so she get a picture of the bear licking her child. So, those sort of things, they managed to get the bear away and the child away and nothing happened. But, sometimes you're lucky, and, other times the bear just might want to take a chomp. But even in national parks, they're not tame. They have a lesser personal space, but they do have their personal space. You enter in that personal space, they may attack. And there's, of course, a number of attacks that do happen in Banff Park and all that. Now, the identification of the bear, of course, the typical thing they talk about is the black bear, and it's not quite as aggressive as generally quite as aggressive as the grizzly bear. And nice typical black bear here. Black color, but only about 80% of black bears are black. The rest are brown, blonde, almost grizzled color like a grizzly bear, and that sort of thing. Generally the thing is, their head size isn't as big, so the ears look bigger when they're live. They really don't have much of a hump on their back. Now sometimes if they're standing on a log with their front legs and all that, of course their shoulders are pushed back, it'll look like they have a bit more of a hump. But on flat ground, they're pretty flat in the back there. Claws, front claws especially, they got claws, but they're not too bad of a size there. The old grizzly bear, this old guy, he's been beat up and tormented by everybody. Grizzly bears, it's a bit heavy.
Wow.
They can get a bit bigger. And of course the head size bigger, so the ears kind of tend to look smaller compared to the back. These are the guys that have big fur here too, plus they have more muscle back there, so they have that hump on the back. Their back claws aren't that long, but their front claws are the ones that kind of really stick out. So their back claws, comparatively are not that big. The front claws are big because they're diggers. They do a lot of digging and stuff like that, pulling apart stuff. And going back a few hundred years ago, a lot of the grizzlies were out in the plains and all that, and a lot of the animals they go after are actually ground squirrels and that. And they get pretty good body size for it.
What are your thoughts about hiking with huskies and dogs?
Dogs, I'm going to touch on that too. If you got dogs out in the woods there, the best thing, of course, is to have them on a leash. The problem with dogs, we have some dogs in our outfit that we use to chase bears and those sort of things. They're especially trained to, they're called Karelian bear dogs, but they're trained to chase bears. And but most animals, they see a bear, dog, a lot of times they will chase after the bear until the bear gets mad. Then they come back to you, looking for protection, with a bear behind them. So even a bigger one, sometimes they, if they're in a group, they may pick out, they may have the advantage over the bear, but a lot of time they don't have the advantage. You're their protector. They'll come back to you, and the bear is now mad. He's chasing them right to you. So it's usually hiking. They may make a bit of noise too, occasional bark, which may be fine, but keep them on a leash so that they don't go run around and getting the bears all ticked off and come back to you with them.
So, excuse me, what do you think about the gentleman on tape where he was making a high-pitched noise since the bear attacked him? In your opinion?
No, not the high pitch, but he was yelling. So it's a deep voice, like, stay away there!
So was it still not a tiny bit high pitched?
A bit high, he's a bit nervous.
It could have been a bit more...
But if you get just a yell, a scream...
Yeah, it sounds like you are injured animal or something.
Yeah, so if the bear surprises you, you go, ah!
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing, especially high pitch. That sounds more like a sudden injury. So now it's attracted. But he's usually kind of backing off and going, stay out there! But that's a lot, sometimes, of course, you get excited, your voice gets a bit higher too. But generally in a deeper voice, yelling like that, the bear is coming at him, that's a good time. The bear is further away, quite a ways, yell at him in a louder voice. He knows you're here. But again, if it's close, you yell, that'll startle him. Just like if you don't know I'm here, I yell, you get startled, So, and then a lot of times it's a defensive reaction to that.
Thank you.
Now let's see if okay, like I said, bear sign, the torn up trees, the tracks and all that. But a lot of times what's attracting bears too is food, especially if you're in a campground. They come in, they have very good sense of smell. Now bears, of course, are a slave to their stomach. They're going to eat all summer because they're going to, around here they sleep throughout the winter. Now bears don't truly hibernate. So, of course, you look like more of a threat to the bear. And then you're making more noise just by walking, and that without even talking. A group of 6 is going to make more noise than a person of 1 or 2. 1 or 2, a lot of times you may talk for a while, a couple people, but after a while you're just hiking through there quietly. With 3, you're making more noise, and there's a chance, you're talking more between the 3 of you than just 2 of you. So that's the things that help there. It's just that you're probably making more noise. Now the
solo trips are,
solo
more,
trips, a lot
you
of people
have
like
to
them,
make
but
always.
you have to be a bit more aware of what's going on, a bit more cautious and that sort of thing. And a solo trip, again, if you're out there solo, your chance of falling and injuring yourself are probably more than getting attacked by a bear. So that's what we don't recommend solo, because you could just, fall, injure yourself, break your leg, and no
twist an ankle, twist
exactly.
an ankle,
So as long as somebody's there, they know where you're at and can get help. Now, talking about that, one thing I do recommend is take your cell phone out with you. A lot of people go, oh, cell phone, I don't want that out there. And a lot of times you may not have reception back in there. But if you have your cell phone, something happens, when you get in closer, you may be able to get some cell reception. So at least you can get, if something happens, help sooner. Even if you have to get down and drive down the highway for a ways, you probably get help sooner. And sometimes you get these freak things back in the woods where you may be able to call out from back in there. So I always recommend, if you have a satellite phone, that's great. Take that along. If you have a cell phone, it may not work everywhere, but take it along anyways, because it's better than nothing. And if something does happen, you have some communications.
So is that the use of bear bangers discouraged by the park authorities because of the fire issue?
It's not discouraged. It's just a caution that don't shoot them out. When you're going to use them, shoot them up.
Yeah.
And that's.
So in this case, what would be a better choice? Because bear spray are so dangerous to your lungs and eyes, no?
Yeah.
But while you can never get a secondary injury from a bear banger, so why not use a bear banger?
Bear banger is just kind of a general thing. This is if you run into a predatory bear, or all of a sudden, for some reason the bear is in close and that sort of thing.
Of course.
This works. This is what
as a defense.
This is what I recommend to anybody out there. And it's like I said, it's defense not only against bears. We've got, depending on the time of the year, in the fall time in Banff, we got those elk that are going kind of crazy sort of thing around the city, around the town of Banff. In the springtime, a moose, you come across a cow moose with her calf, that sort of thing. They're very dangerous. So I recommend this almost any time of the year you're out there. Cougar, you may see a cougar there, you may back off. It may come towards you. Spray that sort of thing. So I recommend this, but also when you're out there for the prevention part, make a bit of noise. The talking, the yelling to your partner, Even taking a stick and banging it occasionally against a tree trunk, that sort of thing. Just so occasionally there is some noise. One of the videos, the other video I usually have, does talk about going through the bush, and if you see something, you got a bear can, you go and run, you know, the can, and you're yelling, "Hey bear, hey bear!" Well, most people aren't going to go walk through the bush yelling, "Hey bear, hey bear." They may have a can attached to the thing. If you do see some sign, just bang the can a bit more with a few, you know, a can with a few rocks in there, just so it makes a bit more noise. And that's what you just want. A bit more noise out there so you don't surprise them. But this is your backup in case you do run into a problem bear.
Okay.
Yes?
So you do support the sprays for anybody out in the woods?
I do support it for anybody out there, or even in the city if you're walking your dog and encountering coyotes or that sort of thing.
Okay. Bears with cubs, bad news?
Black bears with cubs still, let's see, black bears with cubs are not as bad as grizzly bear with cubs, of course. A lot of times black bear with cubs, they'll send the cub up the tree and then the mama will follow them up the tree. Okay. So they're not as bad, but still, if you get them, you know, get them kind of separated, or you're doing, you know, you get some guys that are silly, they try and catch the cub, that sort of thing. Yeah, you deserve it. Couldn't see that one coming. But a grizzly bear, especially with cubs, she's a lot more defensive. Probably because the black bear is used to climbing trees, and they can get away that way. With the grizzly bear cubs, they climb pretty good, but she doesn't a lot of times, so she may be more defensive on the ground and that sort of thing. So usually with a grizzly bear and cubs, it is more of a defensive thing. They are more.
Only last year I spotted a large male grizzly bear on a Burstal Pass, South Burstal Pass. Then another grizzly with mama with two cubs. That was a highway towards past Lake Louise on Highway 93. And then a black bear along a creek. My buddy was ahead of me a couple of minutes. He came across face to face, came back to me, and he told me to back up. So and then I had another situation. I can't recall it. It's all on video on YouTube, I say. And so what was the situation where I get to go down? I spot a bear. He didn't spot me, so I have to back up quickly and go downhill, and you know.
Well, if it doesn't spot you, the best thing is not even quickly. You spot the bear, just back away slowly. You move quickly. That usually something moving.
If it's far, I mean, if it's far.
If it's far, yeah, even there, just back away slowly. Because if you back away slowly, you attract less attention than if you move quick. If you move quick, that quick movement attracts more attention.
Yes.
But if you back away slowly and give the bear its area, sort of thing. So if you want to go down a certain way, the bear's there, back up, maybe pick a different route, or wait for a while, see if the bear will go away, then you can go down there. Or, you know, if you're going to go down there and the bear was there, of course, make some big noise first so the bear knows something's around, and before you proceed down there, so it's not going to be surprised.
So is there a myth that bears cannot run downhill?
Oh, they run good downhill.
They run good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't run as good downhill as we do, you know, on flat either. They will run pretty good downhill. Yeah.
Even on a scree or some other slopes like that.
Yeah, it's just like us. You know, if it's a big downhill, we don't run that well downhill too. We lose our balance. They're maybe a bit slower, but they run pretty good downhill. Scree, again, it's loose and all that, so they wouldn't be good, but we're not that good on that either.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, that's about all I had to cover. Any other questions? I think the gentleman here is just going to touch a bit more on the bear spray sort of thing.
Quickly go over what we carry. Thanks for coming and speaking, by the way. We carry 5 different actual products. However, there's only 2 concentrations of the active ingredient in there. These guys are 0.75% capsaicin. The other 3 here, 0.98%. Effect on the bear is going to be identical. Really, there's not a huge difference in terms of what it's going to do to the bear sprayed directly into the face and eyes, like you said. However, should you get some lower concentration stuff backblast onto you, effects might be a little bit less lasting there. So it's really a personal preference kind of thing, whether you want the highest concentration stuff or it's still effective on the bear, but should you be worried about it getting on yourself, it might not be quite as bad. After that, there's 2 different types of triggers on them. There is the ring pull type that he has gone over with here, where you pull off the safety tab, finger through that hole there, tap on the trigger. The other style is the pistol grip bear sprays. Same exact canister, same product inside. However, slightly different way of setting it off. It's got a large pistol grip, so more positive grip. Some people are more comfortable with that, especially in a stressful situation like you're 20 feet away from a bear. With that, you pull out the safety ring there and then press on the large yellow trigger, and that goes for both of the concentrations. We do carry a larger canister, which would be for extended backcountry trips. Same product inside, just a little bit more there. So if you're out in the bush for a little bit longer, it can be beneficial to go with a larger size canister. In the bear bangers and stuff like that, we have two different launchers. All of our products that we carry are set up for rimfire flares. However, other places in the city and around in the national parks may carry centerfire. There's no difference in terms of the actual effect of the product, but you can't use a rimfire flare with a centerfire launcher and vice versa. So we've got our basic launchers here, which are rimfire only. They have a safety notch that you pull it back, thread the bear banger in there, and it's safe to carry, clip to your pack or clip to a pocket.
I see one working on some presentations. They are awesome, actually.
Yeah.
You hear it loud and it goes up in the air.
They're extremely loud. Yeah, the bear bangers themselves will go about 80 feet in the air, again, straight up, not at the bear, and go off with a blast louder than a shotgun. They are quite loud. So the way this guy works is, see the bear, hold it straight up in the air, so up above your head, pull it back and let it go. It's that easy. The other launcher we carry does the same thing. However, it does have a second firing pin in there, so you can disassemble it, swap the firing pins around, and use it with the other style of bear banger. It can be kind of handy if you're out on a trip and you go to, forgot the bear bangers at home or whatever, or you lose the last one the night before, and you can only get the center fire ones. This guy will let you use both. And this one has the option, you can pull it straight back and let it go, or you can pull it back into this second notch here. And at that point, you just have to nudge it over. So it's a little bit easier, especially for people who are a little bit nervous, or for women or people with smaller hands. You can use both hands to pull it back into that notch. Obviously, still pointing it in the safe direction, and then it's as easy as just pushing it over.
So you don't want to put it in your pocket, though?
I prefer to.
Would it do a lot of damage?
Not particularly. It's classed as a firework, which you don't need a license for it. They don't technically have an expiry date. You do want to make sure they stay cool and dry, so you don't leave them sitting on the dashboard of the truck or anything like that.
But they will cause some injury, sort of thing. There was one person in Rocky Mountain House died a couple of years ago from the injuries. It
was a modified bear banger. It was a 22 that had been fired from a bear banger. But there is the potential there. It is an explosive going off. So same as kids in the 50s losing fingers to firecrackers and stuff like that. They are designed to be propelled far enough away from yourself that they're not at all a danger used correctly. And to that end, they all come with a pocket.
If it gets warm in wintertime, they're not a true hibernator, so they can wake up. They've had, when was it, in the 90s there, it was a pretty warm winter up in Alaska. In January in Alaska, they had grizzly bears coming out, that sort of thing. So they will, in Georgia, they got black bears down in Georgia. Typically they don't hibernate because it's warm enough in Georgia. They'll find food throughout the year, so they don't hibernate down in that area there. Here they typically hibernate because there's not enough food in the wintertime. So they eat a lot of food throughout the summer, fatten up, especially fall time, those berries, those berry patches. So those are some of the places you got to watch out for, especially in the fall time. But if you're in a campground, you've got your food, you leave the food out on the table, of course that'll attract the bears. So you want to make sure you put it in a solid container. Best is in the vehicle, in the trunk, but package it first of all in an airtight container, Ziploc bag, that sort of thing, and in the trunk of the car. Now, a few years back, there was one person at Banff there who put all his stuff, put it in the car, but in the front part of the car, and he's got a convertible. Of course, it doesn't take much for these bears to work through the top of a convertible, make it a true convertible. So it's getting the food away. Don't have it in your tent. Don't cook in your tent. There's been some places where I've checked out bear problems where a bear's gone into a tent. They say, well, we haven't had any food in our tent. Rainy days, so you ask them about about cooking, and they say, yeah, it was raining. We cooked in the tent, but we didn't have anything after. Well, that smell stays in the lining of the tent, just like home perfume stays on your clothes. So no cooking in your tent, no food. And food is not just like typical food we eat. We've had it where bears have gone into, because there's been toothpaste in there. Nice smell, all that. For them, they'll grab that and chew that up, sort of thing. So that attracts them. Like I mentioned, the one with the onions. So a lot of times it's anything kind of a smell that might attract them. And when you talk about smells too, it's again, you're out in the bush, one of your best protections too is just your natural smell. So, you know, avoid colognes, perfumes, all that sort of thing. Some of the perfumes, to hold that nice smell, they use beaver castor. It's part of a beaver, and they work it down, and it's in perfumes and holds the smell and makes it still. Beaver castor is one of the things we love to use for bear bait. So not only sometimes the mask, but sometimes it may attract, sort of thing. So like I said, you know, we're not talking about if you're in the bush, don't bathe for 2 weeks, you know, sort of thing, and all your friends hate you. Use unscented soap so you don't cover yourself, you don't add that nice strawberry shampoo smell to your hair, those sort of things. And if you are picking berries, clean up after, take the clothes you're wearing, store that separately. Even when you're cooking, that splattering from the bacon and that, sometimes that gets on clothes. They talk about when you go to, if you're in a tent, put on new clothes for the night, pack all that stuff away with your food cache. Had one lady in, when I was working out of Slave Lake there, she was picking berries, and in the middle of the night, she's sleeping against the tent wall, sort of thing. Bear comes and takes a bite on the tent wall and puts some scratch marks on her head. Now, of course, when you're picking, you get a bit of that blueberry stuff on your fingers. It's hot, you kind of brush your hair away. Now you're brushing that into your hair and you're getting that smell all over you. So that's one of the things there. Another one, when I was in Slave Lake there's a group of Boy Scouts there, or Cubs anyways. One had, for some reason, a chocolate bar in his back pocket there. And he laid down in the middle of the day in the tent. He had his butt end against the tent wall. The bear kind of wandered through and took put a few little marks on his back end there, sort of thing. So those sort of things, you know, and then basically a trailer, of course, is more solid, so it's safer than a tent. And a tent is better than just sleeping out in the ground in your sleeping bag out in the open. But I was going away from here. But if you are in the bush or in a campground, you know, heck, a lot of times your neighbor's going to leave food out. That's good. Bear will go there. Pack your food away real good. If you are in a backpacked in a camp, the best thing to do is people, again, let's say that's a tree there and this is a tree here. Throw a rope over a branch there, throw a rope over another branch here, tie your food in a bundle in the middle, and when you pull it up, it's between the trees. If you just throw it over one branch and pull it up there while it's up against a tree, black bear climbs real easy and he just has his feast up in the tree. Again, not 100% successful with the rope and between the tree. You have to have it high enough where they can't reach, they can't jump when they're on their back legs. But there is a video out of central BC where the person has a bird feeder tied on a wire between two posts, and the video is this bear going down the wire hand over hand to the bird feeder. So,
smart, eh?
So they are very smart. When it comes to food, they get very ingenious. They had one they couldn't figure out. There's cabins out in the woods there, and they didn't have them locked, but somebody's coming in and stealing their food. It looks like a bear was in there, but there's nothing broken until somebody had a video camera up and they videotaped the bear coming up to the doorknob and twisting the doorknob and opening the door. So, wow. So they get very ingenious. Even some of these places where they really habituated to food, they have even taken, like, gone out to a vehicle and peeled the part of the window back so they can, like passenger side, peel that window part back. So they are very strong in that too. But generally, if you keep the food away, you're going to have less problem. You're camping. Also, camp so with the direction the wind's blowing is not blowing the smell of the food or your cooking area past your tent. So if you have, if you have your tent here and your cooking area here and your food cache here, it's better if the wind blows this way, of course, than blowing across down this way, because then it blows it all this way. If a bear walks past your tent, smells that, the first thing he's attracted to is your tent, then the fireplace. And they talk about when you're in there, of course, you're in the backcountry, anything you have left over from the food, the container, all that, throw it in the fire, burn it up, then after it's burnt up, put it in a Ziploc bag, pack it out of there. But burn it up, pack it in a Ziploc bag. Now, when I was working out at Olds years back, we had a rig working out in the mountains there. And they, at that time, before that, they just had to have a pit, and they threw all their stuff in a pit. Then they had to have a little incinerator to burn all their food scraps and all that. The one day at the one rig, the camp cook goes out there, throws a bunch of stuff into the incinerator, comes back to his trailer, hears something behind him, looks back, and here's a bear at the burning incinerator trying to get the stuff out of the burning incinerator. Another time he said they have their stove there, and it's in front of the little window, the stove, and cooking bacon in the morning. All of a sudden this bear paw comes through the window, right off the grill. They love bacon, we love bacon, they love bacon, those sort of things. So be careful with a lot of things like bacon. Bacon, again, is one of our favorite foods that we use in our bear traps. That's those big culvert things. If you are at a campground, you see the big culvert bear trap, don't do like some people do. Don't camp, even if it's tight in the campground, don't camp beside the bear trap. We're attracted the bear there for a reason. And we've had that happen.
How does a helmet, like a hiking helmet, help somebody out when he's being attacked by a bear?
Well, again, if you have a helmet, the bear won't be able to. If it does attack, where it wants to generally attack is the head, the back of the neck, those sort of things. So if you can protect your head, protect the back of your neck, a lot of times you have backpack, pull that up, protects that area, or nothing else, your hands back there. So you may get your hands bitten, but you won't get this area here bitten. And this area is a lot more vulnerable to you than your hands are.
But is that the bear claws are they strong that it would just smash from one punch the helmet and like it's nothing, or?
It depends on how it hits. It's got quite a hard hit, but those helmets a lot of times they're made to take quite a pounding too. It's almost like a bicycle helmet or those that take impact when you hit the ground.
Because sometimes I go scrambling or hiking and I have a helmet.
Yeah.
I may as well use it, wear it when I'm bushwhacking, right?
Can do, yep. They'll have a bit of protection there too.
Yeah, because I ask some people and they say, no, it's nothing. It's like, don't bother because he will smash it. But I was just not an expert opinion. I would agree with yourself.
I'd go with you. I'd wear it sort of thing. If it's a concern, I would wear it. Even if they bite on it, they may bite through, but otherwise you just got your bear skull there sort of thing for them to chew on.
Yes.
So it has a bit more protection.
Absolutely. So what about preventing in the first place, like when I know it takes some effort to keep making noise while you're bushwhacking, but you say you're bear, like every 10 seconds,
one video.
Am I gonna be 100% safe if I do that? Or?
You're never 100% safe with bears.
I mean to prevent him. Am I gonna be?
Even to prevent them, sort of thing. Like I said, sometimes you may run into the predatory bear, and that may it doesn't matter what you're yelling. They know that you're around there, but they'll still follow you, sort of thing.
Okay.
The yelling and the noise making helps to notify the bear that doesn't know you're there, and just when it knows you're there, and that's like 99% of the bears. The ones that are stalking you and they're quite rare, but they may be rare. But if they do happen, they're a lot more serious than the one that you surprise, because this one wants you, so it's more determined to get you.
But at least I minimize the risk, so it's good to always.
You're always good to make the noise. Like you said, in a group, you look like a bigger thing in the first place. There's more threat to the bear if you're in a group, especially over 3 people. And it's very rare that anything happens at a group at 6 or more. You're almost nothing there, sort of thing. So first of all, you're in a group. Of course, the group has to be tighter in together. There was one attack on a group of 6, but they were kind of spread out, so it's almost like a bunch of separate people.